Alright guys, you have to ignore the wind noise today. It's breezy today and breezy tomorrow, and today and tomorrow are the only 2 days I can get out here for a little bit. I have here today a Browning X-Bolt Gold Medallion in 30-06. This is on loan to me again from the same viewer who loaned me the NAA Guardian 380 that I posted last week. So once again, big thanks to you, Andrew. Thank you for letting me borrow this rifle for the review. As I said in the last video, I'm not sure if he'll comment below, but if he does, please feel free to give him a thanks for loaning us this rifle today. As far as I know, this one in particular is discontinued because I do not see it on Browning's website. However, I do see a few for sale still through various vendors like Cabela's, Bass Pro, for example. They still have a few left in a few different calibers, so I believe it's just old stock. I'm not sure I would call it old stock, but this particular model I believe they discontinued because if you go to their website, the only thing you can actually find is the white gold Medallion edition, which instead of having the blued barrel, black handle, and whatnot, everything is stainless steel instead. That's the only one I still see on Browning's website. So this one particularly, basically same rifle other than, you know, the appearance change and material change there. But they do not, it looks like they do not offer this exact one any longer. So as I said, it's in 30-06. One thing I noticed about this rifle was it is very light and handy. So the rifle only weighs 6.5 pounds without the scope, and part of that is due to this rather skinny barrel. So I believe it's supposed to be more of a lightweight sporting hunting rifle. It is a 22-inch barrel, and for a 30 caliber, that barrel is very skinny. It looks more like a 22 caliber barrel. So I think that's a big part of the lightweightness of it, is that it has a very thin contour barrel there. So that would mean basically 100% a higher end hunting rifle there. So that barrel is going to get heated up pretty quick. So I'm probably only going to be doing, at least for in search of accuracy and printing groups today, I'll only be doing 3-shot groups with cooldowns in between. So with that being said, he requested that I zero this for 200 yards, so that's what we're going to do. We have a Vortex Diamondback, yeah, 4-12 by 40 on here. Okay, and this is how it was handed to me, so it's already been mounted and all that, so hopefully everything's good and tight. I did check these screws and they feel pretty snug to me, so should be good to go there. It's mounted nice and level and everything. So I'm going to get it zeroed. I'm going to start out here at 25 yards, take a shot, hopefully hit paper, make some adjustments. Then I'll get it completely zeroed at 200 yards like he wanted, and then if the wind cooperates, we will reach out at least 400 yards, maybe 500 yards. I'm not sure how much that wind's going to affect shooting today. Right now it's calmed down quite a bit, but we're having up to 15-mile-an-hour gusts that are going mostly eastward, which is towards me. Occasionally it'll go a little left or right, but for the most part it's coming straight back at me, so that's good. So it shouldn't move the left and right too much, although having a high breeze coming straight at you will cause a little bit of bullet lift, so it might shoot higher than what it would with no breeze. So we are shooting these Remington core locked. These are 180 grain soft points. As you can see, it's a pretty rounded flat nose there, so these are not going to do the best in the interest of accuracy. This is more of a hunting cartridge. Obviously you can buy match grade ammo and more ballistic friendly shapes and elongated noses and whatnot, but this is what we have today, so this is what we'll be using. Again, 180 grain core lock soft point. So with that being said, I'm sure whatever I achieve here today, you could do much better with match grade ammunition or certainly hand loads. This is just a pretty generic round here, pretty bottom end, run of the mill. A couple years ago, these were 75-80 cents a shot, about the cheapest thing you could buy while still buying American. That being said, those are extremely popular and an extremely effective cartridge for medium to large sized game. They're used around the country pretty extensively by a lot of people, actually. These are kind of the old school standard here. So just because they're attainable doesn't mean that they're not good rounds. But you could certainly expect increased performance from match grade or hand loads in terms of accuracy and long range shootability. But anyways, I'm not going to take up too much of your guys' time going over all the features of this rifle. I'm sure you can read about it more on their website or, you know, Google it or whatever. But here's your safety. Okay, and the interesting thing about this, it's got this button right here. So the safety locks the bolt, but if you want to remain in safety and open the bolt, you can do so by pressing this button here. And then your bolt will open and close, but it still keeps the safety on the trigger. Maple stock, high gloss finish. And you got these rosewood caps here, and I believe at the bottom, yep, right there. So very thick, slick, extremely smooth like glass finish to it. However, on the stippling here or what have you, these are not finished, and these are actually very, very grippy. I really like these. They give you a real good grip on it. They don't have the gloss over top of this, and real good grip on this. They're not rounded edges. You can feel they're actually kind of pokey. Not so much that it's going to tear up your hand, but just perfect amount to where you get a real good grip on it. And then you got some nice engraving on both sides, and of course right there says Medallion. And these rifles are actually produced in the Moroku factory in Japan, and per Browning's own website, only the Browning Buckmark and 22 caliber and 380 caliber 1911s are the only firearms they make in the US now. As for the trigger, per Browning's website, this is adjustable from 3 to 5 pounds. I'm not going to mess with the weight on this at all since it's not my rifle, but I can tell you right now it's set at about 4.5 to 5 pounds. I really like this trigger though. And wind keeps kicking up on me. I hope you guys can hear me, because I know sometimes that wind noise like muffles the microphone. So anyways, they call this, I believe, their feather trigger, and you can see this is ready to go other than being empty. You can see how far back it's set. Whoop. I want that to fall off. Let's move these out of the way here. So it's pretty much all the way back, and it only travels like, I don't know, a millimeter. So let me show you that real quick. That's it. I mean, that might be half a millimeter. You should have heard the audible click from the firing pin, and then reset is the same distance. Well, I guess I would have to run the bolt, wouldn't I? Okay. And you can see it's still in the same spot. I've never experienced anything like this, but I gotta say I really like this trigger. Again, hope you can hear me over this wind noise. It keeps kicking up on me and getting crazy. But I think that trigger would really help you be a more accurate shooter, because not only is it extremely crisp with no plate whatsoever, you could set it lighter if you want. Me, I personally prefer, like, you know, like a 3-pound trigger, 3.5, something like that. Even 2.5 I like. Like I said, I'm not going to mess with it because it's not mine. But even with that 4.5, 5-pound trigger pull that it seemingly currently set at, I feel like I can be really accurate and precise with that. Because unlike a traditional trigger, you know, where you have a certain range of motion after it goes off, even if it is crisp with no creep whatsoever, I think as the rifle, you know, recoils, your finger's still traveling back, and so as it kicks back, I think it catches, at least I've noticed it, especially if you're not shooting off a bag, everything can kind of like catch your finger, and it can throw the rifle one way or the other, because you're still in travel as that cartridge is going off, because, you know, a traditional trigger will have some range of motion, but this thing, as soon as it breaks, it stops immediately, like just a half a mil or a mil, as you saw there. So I think that's going to help you be real accurate at that trigger design. I really like it. Well, I'm going to quit yammering on here. We're going to get to shooting. Just one last note. Like I said, this thing's real light and handy, 6.5 pounds. So I'd expect pretty stout recoil from these 180 grain 30-06 with that rifle being so lightweight. However, it seems to have a really good recoil pad. It's super soft rubber, and I noticed it's got a lot of give. I know this is one of their special recoil pads here, but I think that's going to help a lot with the recoil. So I'm going to go ahead and take a single shot at this target down here at 25 yards, see where we're at. One other thing I forgot to mention is that bolt, as expected for the price point, is extremely smooth, super nice feeling. It's also real light to manipulate, and of course when you're actually feeding a live round, it's still super light and whatnot. The only thing you'll notice compared to it being empty is when you are chambering around, it does require a little, I don't know, millimeter push just to set that cartridge fully in there before you can lock it down. But I love the feel of this. Super smooth action, super light. So from what I could tell from eyeballing it over the scope and down the side of the barrel, it should have been on paper. So let's see where we hit down here. As for the recoil, definitely felt it, but what was interesting, it was like a sharp, quick kick instead of, like, I don't know, a heavy push like I'm used to with 30-06. Definitely feel it, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. All right, so these are from a 410 video I was working on. So this was our shot right here. So I definitely need to come to the right. It being low at 25 yards, that's to be expected because this is too close. So I'm not really worried about that yet until we get out further, see where it's heading. Definitely got to bring her right though.
I really like the magazine on this thing. It was a polymer construction, but it is extremely sturdy. It's not flimsy or whatever, or thin like other plastic magazines I've used in other bolt-action rifles. It is a rotary mag. It holds 4 in the 30-06 caliber, but in some of the smaller calibers, it will hold 5.
All right, guys, again, sorry if you're getting any of that wind noise. It keeps kicking up pretty hard out here. So it looked like we needed to go about 4 inches to the right. So I gave it 64 clicks to the right at 25 yards. That should have moved it about 4 inches. So I went ahead, moved the target down to 50 yards there, and we'll take another shot at 50, and we'll be able to check our windage that way. And I'm thinking the height should be getting closer. We'll see where it puts us. All right, so thankfully we did hit the paper. We just hit it super low, and I'm a little too far right here, so I'm going to give a few more clicks back to the left, and we definitely need to come up a considerable amount. All right, so I brought it up a bunch and brought it back to the left a little bit, and right there we are. So that's getting pretty close. I was aiming right there, so we should be close enough. I'm gonna go ahead and move it out to 100 yards once I get a fresh target on it, and work on it a little more. Now with it having a 200 yard zero like we're going for, I'll check the specs when I get back up there in a second, but it should be an inch and something high at 100 yards if we're gonna be zeroed at 200. So that's actually what I'm going to be. I might just try a 3-shot group at 100 right now, actually. And then depending on where it groups, we'll just make adjustments before we go out to 200 yards to get it finalized for a 200 yard zero. All right, we'll go ahead and do a little 3-shot group at 100 yards. I'm not expecting it to hit bullseye. I will make my adjustments after I try to print this 3-shot group. Got the GoPro down there, so on the right side of your screen we'll have that footage spliced in. Hopefully you can see the shots. It is not a shoot and see target. I need to order more. Link in the description for those. I'm not sure where that hit, but I definitely felt like I pulled it off to the left. So if that third shot's off to the left, I'm not surprised at all. So I pulled that last shot to the left, I believe. Whether or not I seen the movement before or after, the bullet was already out of the barrel. I'll see in a second. I'm not sure if you guys could already see it on the GoPro footage. But I seen the wind kicked up and the target was moving around, so I was trying to time it, and then I guess in the heat of trying to time it, I kind of, yeah, I don't know where I was hitting, so I'm going to assume that was that last shot, because I seen the crosshairs come over here as I pulled the trigger, so I'm going to assume that was that shot, and if that's the case, then that means I'm 100% correct in what I'm stating. I pulled it off to the left, and then it would appear that I pulled it a little low as well, so that should be up here with these. So if it was, I'm going to say that that probably would have been about there, so we're looking at about a 1-inch group, maybe a little less, had I not screwed that up, if I'm correct that that was the last shot. I do believe that I pulled that one certainly off to the left, probably a little low there. So that is exceptional accuracy if that's the case, and that's with those Remington core locked, which are not match grade ammunition, nor are they high-end ammunition whatsoever. That's about, like I said, that core locked is some of the cheapest stuff you can get without buying like PPU or something like that, or God forbid steel case Russian ammo. But anyways, so you can see how we're still so extremely low. You can also see how much a difference there is from 50 yards to 100 yards with these high-powered rifles. So it was close to being where it needed to be at 50, but now we're way lower at 100. So basically, I mean, we started out with that thing shooting real low and off to the left pretty good. So it's still real low. I still need to bring it up a lot. That's at least 6 inches to bring it to the center there. And then remember, for a 200-yard zero, we actually want it about 1 inch and something high, which I got to go over that with you guys still. I forgot to, I think the box says it, but then also, obviously, you can look up trajectory charts online. Anyways, I'm going to get this set out to 200 now. We'll go over the trajectory when I get back up there. This time I will not forget. I'll make my adjustments, and then we'll see what happens at 200. All right, here we are at 200. Got the GoPro right there. And previously we're at that 100-yard mound, center screen right there. So this time I'm probably just going to show the GoPro footage here. So I'm really impressed with that 100-yard group. I mean, I definitely expected this thing to shoot sub MOA, you know, for the price point, with some, you know, higher end ammunition in there, certainly match grade and hand loads. But for it to be able to do that with these core locks, especially these big fat round nosed 180 grain ones, really impressed me. I'm not sure what I thought I was going to shoot down there, but I was doing, you know, trying to do my job the best I could to make the rifle look as good as possible. From that bag, it's not a perfect rest. I could see through the crosshairs that I was having about a 1/2 inch movement left and right, and I was, you know, trying to time it in the middle there from my shots. But it's not a perfect rest like, say, a lead sled, to where it's going to get all movement out of the equation. So I still shot that well, even with some movement, and with this, you know, technically low-end ammunition. So I'm really impressed by that. So anyways, down there at 200 now, past the buffalo. So there's my blurry target stand down there at the 200-yard mound. So like I said, I'm probably just going to put the GoPro footage up, and we'll take 3 cracks at it. I've already made my adjustment approximately 7 inches up, so we should be close down there. Now remember, this is twice the distance, so not only will the group open up because it continues to expand the further out you go, but also shooter error is magnified the further you are shooting. So honestly, I'm not expecting much better than a 3-inch group due to those scenarios, but hopefully we can do better. And so there's the trajectory I was talking about. If you zero for 200 yards with these, and it's probably going to denote somewhere 24-inch barrel or something like that. That's usually what they quote. I don't see it on here, but Like if you get a Hornady, for example, they're using a 24-inch barrel, I believe. So if you zero for 200 yards, then at 100 yards you should be 2.5 high. Then at 300 you'll be 11 low, then 433 low, and then 572 low with these. Your velocity and weight of the bullet's going to affect that, but that's what these ones specifically say. Also, barrel length is going to affect that, because if you have a shorter barrel, it's going to be going slower, therefore it's going to drop faster. Longer barrel, you may get higher velocity. Generally, these are quoted for these large caliber rifles for a, generally this is calculated using a 24 or 26 inch barrel. I don't see where it denotes that, but like I said, Hornady, I believe on Hornady it says 24-inch barrel for theirs. A storm rolling in. I hope it doesn't hit us. It looks like it might just miss us there. So I have no idea what I did yet. I took 5 shots because I felt like I was doing pretty horrible. Oh yeah. I noticed that I definitely flung, at least one of them, if not more. I could see that I was moving a lot more at 200 yards. And like I said, I definitely pulled a few. So that one's definitely pretty bad. So let's see what we had. These 3 shots. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the one I pulled the worst, obviously. So I guess these 4 here, that would have been one of them. So I just got an up and down string, and I was thinking at 100 yards we were favoring a little left there, so I was going to see what it did at 200 and probably bring it a little more to the right, a click or two. And so definitely seeing that with those 4 shots, I definitely need to go to the right. But we're looking at 4.5 here, and it's up and down, so that could be a big part ammunition. But I think some of that was me, because some of the ones I felt like I was pulling, I felt like I was pulling the trigger up here instead of dead center like I was anticipating. So you could probably shrink that a little bit. I would say at least an inch. Either way, at 200 yards, that's not bad though, because if you shrink that to where it should be, knowing that I pulled a couple high, I mean, that's a 3-inch up and down string at 200 yards, so that's not bad really. Like I said, I certainly wasn't doing my part on this one at 200 yards. Anyways, with that being said, we are still low, and we're aiming for a 200-yard zero. So if you were to average this out, it looks like I need to come up about 2 inches to bring the middle of that group up to about here. So I'm going to give it 2 inches worth of clicks up, and we should be zeroed for 200. So I went ahead and gave it 5 clicks up from where we were at 200 there, so that should put it about bullseye. I'm going to try some 300-yard shots here real quick before the storm blows in. It looks like I'm going to have to pack up in a minute. I don't know if you can see, but the wind is kicking up. But I set my 20-inch steel gong down there at the 300-yard mound, that big white circle right there. So I'm going to take a few shots at it, see if we can hit that. So with this being zeroed for 200, should be 11 inches low. So I'm probably just going to aim at the very top of that plate, being a 20-inch plate. Just going to zoom you in here so hopefully you can see, especially if I miss. Not sure if we'll hear any sort of ding, but hopefully. Well, I could hear the ding, so hopefully you guys can. Getting windy and dark. I'll have to throw these in the car real quick till this passes. I don't want any water drops on these. Got mine back here too. So 300 yards, no problem. I was not trying to be accurate or anything. I was just setting it on top of the bag instead of in it because I knew I wouldn't have an issue hitting it. So there you go, 300 yards, no problem. And I did exactly what I said. I just aimed with the center crosshair at the very top of that plate, and we got 3 hits. And it was hard to tell from the scope, but even though I wasn't going for a group, it looked like they might have been kind of close together. But regardless, 300 yards, no issue. So depending on how the storm plays out, I'm gonna try for even further, hopefully 500 today. All right, so the storm's gone. It actually did not hit us. I shot my 25-06 a little bit while I was overhead, so now it's gone, but I still got a lot of wind from it. So it's pretty windy now. Not ideal conditions for shooting long range. But with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and try for 400 now. So it's freshly painted, and as long as my GoPro doesn't die, I have it set up down there as at like 15%. We'll have a different perspective. 400 yards. That wind is strong right now. Okay, so according to this box with a 200 yard zero, at 400 yards, we should be 33.8 inches low. So I'm gonna try to account for that. Three hits, no problem, and I'm out of storage space. I was using the very bottom hash mark, and it was hitting right about where that was. All right, 400 yards. So, like I said, that crosshair, and I probably posted it somewhere in the video, it has a few little hash marks under the center crosshair, and I was using the very bottom one, and that was just aiming dead center, and there you go. I mean, I probably could have done better than that. I wasn't taking super careful shots or anything. It was super windy, and right there you go, 3 dead center. That's about maybe 6 inches from that one to that one, you know. So that's also with those core locks. So highly accurate rifle for certain. You could definitely, with match ammo, perfect conditions, better rest, no human error, you could definitely get that, I would say, to half that, which would be 3 inches at 400 yards. I could even do better than that under better circumstances and scenarios with that core lock ammunition. So excellent shooter. All right, we're on the GoPro here. Like I said, I ran out of storage on the phone, so I had cleared a few things, but I still only got 2 minutes of recording time left I need to save to finish this video with. So now we're at 500 yards. This range does go to 540, so I mean, that's pretty much it right there. But I'm just gonna go ahead and do 500 since we have a way to calculate for that. Quick reference from the box. So all the way up there, 500 yards. And we'll just have this GoPro footage here. I'm gonna set it down there on a rock. Hopefully I don't hit it. Actually, I'm gonna stick my big log behind it like I usually bring. And let's see if we can get some hits here at 500 yards. And then we'll wrap up. Still windy. Anyways, 500 yards. See if we can hit it. Not ideal conditions, but I'm pretty confident I can hit it at least a few times. Hopefully it won't miss. So at 500 with a 200 yard zero, we are 72 inches low. Some of the Hornady's I was looking at, they were only 50 inches low at 500 yards. So that big fat 180 grainer there, that thing's dropping like a tank at 500 yards. So I will have to aim twice as high as I did at 400. So we're just going to be guessing here. This isn't really going to do any justice for me or the rifle, but I think it's still fun to try. So we'll send the last 3 out of this box down see if we can get some hits, see how well I can guess. Also remember, that's only a little 12 power too. All right, still on the GoPro here. So, my first shot, I guess I aimed a little too high because I shot and then I didn't see anything. No dirt kick up or nothing. So I was like, okay, well, I must have aimed a little too high then and hit back there somewhere. Well, that's exactly what happened, because then I aimed lower. Now I could see in the crosshairs, the wind was blowing that way, which facing the target was that way. I could see dust kicking up and going this way constantly while I was shooting, and then also, you know, just like little leaves and seeds and stuff from the tree, I could see them blowing across to the right as well. So what I did was, knowing that I was high, I aimed lower, and then I aimed a little bit off to the left because I wasn't sure how much the wind was going to push the shot, since the ones at 400 were pretty center. The wind must have died down for those 400-yard shots. So then the second shot, aiming lower because I knew I shot over and slightly to the left, I hit that one right there off to the right. I was like, okay, good. So I was too high, but then I could see, because it was on that right edge there, that the wind was still pushing it dangerously close off to the right for missing there. So what I did for the second shot, aimed about the same spot again. Of course I was aiming over it, and then I just aimed a little more off to the left, about right there, because I did not want to miss the plate off to the right side. So that's why that second shot is farther off to the left, not because of the accuracy, but because I intentionally did that. So I was aiming high at just some brush back in there, and so once I realized I was too high on that first shot, that's what we did, these two shots here, and this one's so far left because I adjusted to the left because I was so close to the edge of the plate. So had I not adjusted and had I not missed the side of the plate, that one would have been right here. So that would have been two shots at 500 yards, about 3 inches apart. So that is awesome. That thing shoots great, and especially considering those are those big old fat hunting rounds, the Remington Coralocks. So I am absolutely in love with this rifle. I was in love with it before I even shot it. I was like, for me, I'm a smaller dude, you know, I'm only 5'9". So compared to larger hunting rifles, like I got a 450 Bushmaster in bolt action, and I've shot some other, you know, 30-06, 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, stuff like that. This feels real nice and nimble, which for, I mean, if you're a monster like 6'5", you might not like that, but compared to a lot of other hunting rifles, this small lightweight package, it's almost kind of like comparable to, like, say a 1022. You know how like a 1022 feels nice and compact compared to some other 22 rifles. This it's kind of the same with this. Like I said in the beginning, only 6.5 pounds, small, you know, small contour diameter barrel, keeps it nice and lightweight and handy, which is great for hunting. It's not going to wear you out in the woods. It's super light handling, and that recoil pad, man, that does an amazing job of mitigating the recoil from that heavy 30-06 round. Honestly, it kicks less in this light rifle than some heavier 30-06s I've shot, so does a great job of mitigating the recoil from that heavy load. And then, like I've been raving, this thing is shooting those cheap rounds really, really good. So imagine what it could do with some match grade ammo and hand loads. So yes, this is an expensive rifle, but man, is it worth it. It just feels great in the hands to me. The fit and finish is top notch. Recoil is real light for the cartridge, and it shoots freaking great even with the cheap stuff. And remember, super windy conditions. It's finally died down now, of course, now that I'm done shooting, but man, we were shooting in 15-20 mile an hour winds out there, no problem. So like I said, absolutely love this thing. Well worth the cost. If you can afford it, I would definitely grab one of these. It definitely lives up to the hype. One day when I can afford to do so, I'm definitely going to have to add one of these to the collection. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. It was probably a little bit of a long one, but hopefully kept you entertained. Great rifle. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully I see you guys on the next one. Oh, and thanks again, Andrew, for letting me borrow this for the review. You got a heck of a rifle here, man.